Jen, how you doing?
Hey, Randy, how are you?
Excellent. Thank you for joining us today.
Lovely to be here.
Excellent. Hopefully you say that at the end. All right, everybody, welcome. Really excited to have Jen Quinlan with us today. She is the Global Managing Partner at IBM Consulting and the Customer Transformation Consulting Services Leader. So definitely fantastic role, making a huge impact in a lot of areas for a lot of great customers. So look forward to hearing more about that. And we've got a great title topic, which is Gen AI and its impact on the customer experience, which obviously covers a lot and probably most of all the important facets of companies these days.
It does. It's what gets me up every day, Randy. So
awesome. And happy Good Friday to everybody watching along. So if somebody's watching this 6 months from now, you'll know that when it was recorded. We are also on LinkedIn Live. So for those that are watching or listening along, feel free to chime in with any comments or any questions. And as always, we got Tucker behind the scenes there helping us. So appreciate that. We're also sponsored by Tech Target, who is the Leads Intent and Analyst Content sponsor of Sales Community. And for those that are members of Sales Community, thanks. For those that are not, Tucker will throw on a free link. Feel free to join. Lots of great content and information there from some of the best go-to-market leaders around. So by way of introduction, Jen lives in Annapolis, Maryland. Great spot. She's got 4 kids, but the reason I've got my Duke shirt on is she has a daughter, Delaney, who has an awesome story about being club lacrosse at UGA, Georgia, after turning down some D1 scholarships previously. And now she's in grad school at Duke, where several of you know I had a son, Billy, that had played baseball. So such a great story there about Delaney.
Yeah, thank you. She's a great athlete and a great student, and it's been just a really good experience for her. And it's just a great story in terms of like following your dreams and taking what you've done in college and really building on it. So she's really enjoying her time at Duke, and it's just been a great experience for her.
Awesome. Yeah. And also not to leave them out, but also 3 other fantastic, very accomplished children as well.
Yeah.
So we were trying to figure out how we met, but I think it was really just a follow up from when we had Muhammad Ali on, who's the COO at IBM Consulting. So unlike most people I have, we really just met truthfully face to face today. So really excited for what we have coming up. So by way of introduction, I've got some comments from people that do know you well. Elizabeth Brophy says that Jennifer is the global leader and managing partner of IBM iX within IBM Consulting. Her team helps the world's most influential companies reinvent their relationships with customers, citizens, and employees through innovative experiences, digital products, and services alongside key technology partners such as Adobe, Salesforce, SAP, and more. She is poised to significantly impact customer experience transformation and digital business solutions with her strong leadership, diverse expertise, and unwavering dedication to human-centric design and driving experience-based solutions for clients. Wow.
Wow.
That was pretty impressive. All right. And one you may not think of, Craig Dempster, CEO of Merkle. So by chance, I was talking to him the other day and saw that you were, Merkle. I'm like, oh, do you know her? And he said, oh, she's fantastic. So what he gave me is she's a fantastic manager and leader. People love to work for Jen. She's very strategically minded and really understands technology and technology services. So that is pretty
wow.
Cool. And then, of course, had to get from Mohammed, who, of course, I forgot to ping him and asked him this morning and said, hey, sorry. And he responded in 5 minutes. So obviously he shows how much you mean to him, but says, like me, Jen is a boomerang to IBM. She left, was a successful CEO in return, now leading our 23,000 creators and designers. Jen has a unique ability to combine design, strategy, and engineering to bring some of the most compelling user experience for our clients. It's a great pleasure to work with someone of such caliber. So
wow, so no pressure here.
I'll send those to you so you can put them in your in your file there. So anyway, so if we jump in here, so first question I always like to ask is, I know you went to Northeastern, but your first job out of school.
Yeah, so my first job out of school was in direct marketing. So I'm going to really age myself here, but that really set the stage, actually, I think, for where I am today, which is really probably the neatest part of it. So in direct at the time, it was all based on data and what, how you were going to get to somebody's home. So leveraging data and technology to deliver that message or marketing offer to somebody's home was really how I started in the space. And it's built on that. But I think that was, I was an advertising and journalism major, and ultimately I fell in love with the technical side of things too, in terms of making sure that what you wanted to get and communicate to a customer got to them, right? So that's really how it started.
Awesome. And then you've certainly done a lot and done a lot really well. Can you maybe just briefly go through your successful career from there?
Yeah. So I spent a couple of years there, about 4 or 5 years there in the direct side, and then went to Merkle where Craig and I met. And I'd love to hear that quote. It was great to hear from Craig. He's a fantastic leader as well. And so spent almost 20 years at Merkle. And so really that was quite seminal for me in terms of really the building blocks to where I think I am today. And so many leaders in that organization are so influential in my journey for sure. But really at the time it was leveraging, data to drive, direct marketing, which turned into digital and turned into sort of the where we are today. So I think, and spending 19 years at a company, I did quite a bit of different, I had a lot of different roles, from leading clients to leading industries of clients to some business operations roles and other things. But ultimately really was very proud of that journey, and had a lot of mentors and leaders in that organization, and came to IBM and was in our distribution sector for a bit, and then went to go do a CEO role for private equity for a digital agency, very similar space. So I've been, and then came back to IBM, obviously, and I've been in our interactive experience and customer transformation consulting business. So I've really spent the majority of my career at that intersection of data and technology, and then how are we going to leverage those things to go drive, for a good majority of my career, a better marketing and sales, customer sort of marketing to sales conversion experience. But now I span, a broader mandate here at IBM. So yeah, so that's been really my background. It's continued to build on itself. And actually, from the IBM perspective, I really wanted to get deeper into, the technology and technical transformation work. And really it's been really quite meaty and complex. And I tend to gravitate to something that's really complex, and helping clients to take that something that's super complicated and really make it easy and much more streamlined. So I really love that translation part.
Awesome. So great. So tell us some more about your group that you're leading today.
Yeah, so we've got about 23,000 folks in our organization globally, and it's a very diverse group, which is the other thing that I love about it, from designers and creators, think about sort of motion content and visual design, all the way through to engineering, product engineering and how front end, back end engineering, how are we going to bring these solutions to life? So what I love about what I get to do every day and what our teams get to do every day is, we're obviously building off the backs of technologies, best in class technologies, Salesforce, Adobe, SAP, et cetera, and really putting that user interface that actually is easier for an employee to interface with, as well as a customer to interface with the brand. So in many of these organizations, and the work really spans. The work spans across marketing. It could be sales, field sales implementation, trying to make it better for those out in the field doing their work, to customer and call center, to and then wrap that all in commerce. Those are the types of things that our team does. But the other aspect of what we do is, sort of the product engineering aspect of it. So many organizations have lots of different products and tools and applications. So helping to rationalize those things are part of the work that we do as well. So what I really tend to love is actually when you see what a solution is today and what the problems are that our clients have with the solutions that they have today and how they don't work, right? And then we give them a more modernized capability. really that journey is a really fun journey, complicated sometimes, but really fun, really, once we get to the end point where the employees are much more effective and productive, and there's a better engagement with their end customer and consumer. So both of those things tend to be centering points for me. And I think I've grown up, by growing up in a space of direct to consumer, direct or B2B spaces, I think it's been actually, that end result and outcome has really been part of my gravitational pull.
Awesome. You're talking about customer outcomes. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then when you put your sales hat on, then kind of how do you find the prospects and the companies that you engage with? Because there's certainly, I would imagine, extensive, kind of sales cycles and pursuits. So you got to be, kind of pretty selective.
Yeah. So we work with many of our clients actually come to us because they might have some footprint with IBM already, and they're working in sort of, I'll call it a back office way in terms of, IT systems or whatever the improvements are or the work that we're doing on the back end. And they've got a customer challenge, or they've got a service challenge, or even potentially a marketing challenge. So we're leveraging in many cases that, I'll call it that incumbency, to do more front office work with our clients. We also, obviously, we've done a significant marketing transformation that we supported with IBM and IBM. I'll call it as client zero, where our marketing organization did a transformation. So we helped our marketing organization do that transformation off the backs of Adobe, and rationalize all of the websites that we had, the content systems, all of those types of systems, and to be able to create a better sales experience for our customers and to our organization as well. So that helps us to take customers that are somewhat familiar with IBM and really grow them into really more enterprise level customers as well. So we're able to leverage both sides of the business.
Wow, amazing. And then you've got, I think, 60 studios and 75 plus delivery centers. What do you do with those?
We do. So that's actually, thanks for asking that question. That's a great question. So in our studios, we leverage what we call the garage methodology, where we co-innovate and co-create with our clients. So we come into that studio as a way that we can collaborate with our clients much more effectively, and we can co-develop together, test it, augment it, and then roll it out. So it's a really, sort of think about it as an early harvest kind of mentality, and where we're able to actually work collaboratively with our customers, but then also to innovate at speed and figure out what's working, not working, and what we can roll out, and really start to test that and start to gain results from the solutions that we're putting together in the studios. So that's a really great way for us to co-innovate with our clients.
Great. So kind of like the old school workshops, but kind of on steroids.
On steroids, yeah. And so it makes us able to test and learn in a faster way, but also to really get granular in how we're going to go create impact with the client, and really the high priority items, right?
Wow. And you've got kind of partnerships. Any you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, I think I just mentioned one before, that we were just coming off of Adobe Summit this week, but we work quite a bit with Salesforce and SAP as well.
Gotcha. So you basically they're able to leverage you, for lack of better words, to help, I'll say, them sell more and keep their customers happy. So you're kind of then the brains that allow their customers to leverage then their platforms.
Yeah, and think about it as, so all of us are employees of an organization using these tools. So we want to be able to better seamlessly use these tools as an employee of the organization. And obviously, Salesforce is powering a lot of sales leaders and sales folks in your community, I'm sure, as well. So really, as we take a look at what we put together, we want to improve I'll call it sort of the work process, right? And the workflows. So what we're doing is looking at that and saying, okay, we can automate these workflows. We can make it a better experience. So you don't have to go through 6 screens. You're going to one screen to actually hit the button and get the things that you want to do done. And so we take a look at how we can streamline the employee experience as well as that end customer experience. But we're doing it off the backs of these platforms.
That's great. And I remember way back when, I think Adobe was one of the first to change their model to be kind of SaaS based, and well, how is Wall Street going to adapt to that, versus the, kind of one-time licenses. And, they've been kind of innovating all along, and really were a leader with that themselves.
Yeah, yeah, and look, I think it's complicated today because in the world that we're in, our clients have a lot of different solutions, right? So where we come into that conversation is knitting those things together. So I'll call it the left hand talks to the right hand, right? And so you don't have the breaks in information, and you're able to better see who your customers are, but also be able to better support your customers when whether they want to self-serve or they call into a call center. So those are the things that we're putting together. So yeah, and knitting together, I usually like to say.
Awesome. And any kind of one or two customer success stories you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, we have this. We had a really meaty, customer need in financial institution in Latin America, where they wanted to drive more innovation across a number of lines of business. And so we started with their agro business, actually. And if you think about sort of people out in the field or farmers out in the field, they need to be out in the field. So we created a way for them to come into a singular platform, to come in and be able to see all the different products and solutions that institution had, as well as their partners. So if you need to buy seeds, or you need to buy equipment, or you need to have, sort of a finance associated with that. So what we worked with that specific client on was a full end-to-end solution to be able to help better serve, so if I'm that farmer out in the field, I can do things through one platform and in one seamless, sort of end-to-end experience. And instead of me, having to go to my computer and do X, Y, or Z, or making a phone call. So that was a really neat solution that we started with, and then went to their mortgage side, and we're continuing to work with that institution. But I think it really exhibits the beauty of what we can put together in terms of, a singular platform, a lot of different technologies underneath it, but really a beautiful design on the front end of it. So me as an end consumer, I can do things in one place and not have to go to 16 different places to actually be effective. And it allows me to spend more time in that example, like out in the field, doing the things that are really important to my business. Right. So Similar construct that we're doing for other clients too.
There you go. Being in the field, no pun intended with the farm.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So you certainly have a lot going on. Any kind of 2 or 3 main kind of go-to-market priorities that you're working on for the next year?
Well, I think yes, as I'm sure we'll talk about today. So there's a lot of work that we're doing, obviously, in generative AI, especially in our space, in the space that is part of my remit, which is marketing, sales, and service. So that's a big area for us in the next year. Also, what we're also focused on is helping our clients be more effective in how they're outsourcing some of their work too, and how they can be more effective in sort of automated processes on that front as well. Yeah.
That's great. And I assume you've got some openings and you're hiring?
We're always hiring for great talent. So certainly, I think as we're looking at the skills that we need, it certainly is in the AI spaces, but also in subject matter expertise across sales, service, and marketing and commerce. Yeah.
Great. And if you're in the elevator, with somebody and you got kind of 20 seconds, what's your plug about the culture and why they'd want to work in your group, besides having you as the leader, of course?
Well, that's really nice. But I think we have, look, I came back to IBM in COVID. And so I would give you the elevator speech would be that, not only do we have tremendous talent, we have really an empathetic culture and community in terms of, driving that human experience and helping our clients to embrace that human experience in the designs that we do for them. So yeah, it's a great community.
Awesome. Great. So awesome. So let's dive into our title topic, Gen AI and its impact on the customer experience. You touched on a little bit before, but you really had IBM as client zero.
Yeah. So it's a great story. I mean, I think if you think about the things that we're doing, I'll give you an example. We started to go through a sales transformation in 2017, and we started with service, and because we had think about IBM. We're doing business in 170 countries. We've got 10,000 remote tech workers. We've got 20,000 field service employees. So, and 7,000 products. So if you can just think about the magnitude of that, it's like 7,000 different experiences, right? So, and then underneath that, it's complicated. We've got a number of different technologies that were supporting our engineers and websites, and it was just ultimately a fragmented experience. So what we did is we deployed, we drank our own champagne. We basically deployed a new sales platform and service platform. So we started with service, and our whole context, which people might be surprised about, was really focusing on a better experience at the heart of it. Because, as we did the business case, ultimately, sort of the revenue impacts and some of the other impacts were going to be there. We were confident they were going to be there, but we wanted the experience to be better for our support employees and better for our customers. And so that was like ultimately really the North Star, if we're really honest about what we were trying to do. And so we had a lot of feedback also. We had feedback from our sales teams and sales managers, that the process was bifurcated. We weren't able to see, a customer 360, that whole, and that's really important if you're in a service center or if you're a salesperson. So think about this, like as a salesperson, you don't want to have to go to 6 other people to say, hey, what's going on with XYZ123? So really, we call it sort of the swizzle chair. You don't have to swizzle left or swizzle right. It's all on the glass. And so as a part of that transformation, we wanted to build out of the box technology. It was going to be out of the box. It was not going to have all this customizations associated with it, which was its own unique challenge because, everybody wants to be unique, right? And it's like, well, I need this and I need that and I need this report. And we're all in sales at some point, right? But this single solution was really critical to give our agents the ability and the transparency to see what our clients were doing across, sort of across the whole continuum, including previous inquiries, right? Because nobody wants to call a call center unless you have to, right? So, but ultimately, I think really what was really fantastic about what we were able to do for ourselves is we were able to increase our call time resolution. We were able to increase, this is the important one, our net promoter score by 25 points. It was huge. So our customers were feeling better about the engagement that they were having with IBM. And then our sellers, we were able to improve seller satisfaction by 37%. So for all the sales folks out there, you guys know this is a hard thing to do, right? But we were able, in that, we were able to create a better experience, across contracting, across productivity and efficiency for our sellers, and then really be able to deliver better business outcomes. So ultimately, I can talk to you about the business outcomes, but it was really about the whole experience internally and externally. And, our customer satisfaction went up as a rate of it, but also, it helped us to reduce our cycle time for deals by 13%, like 13x. So it was a significant impact. And, we're still continuing to build on it today. Actually, we are, driving like a unified chat experience across. So if you're in a sales role and you want to understand what's happening in another part, of our business, let's say it's a technology client and we're going to be doing work with consulting, we're able to knit that across. And so that unified chat, you don't have to go find, where's Jen sit in the organization. So we're creating a better experience across our sales communities. And so think about it like this. It's like 15 minutes to 15 seconds that you're able to find out like who else is engaged with this client, because it's in, it's all on the glass. And so it's creating a better experience across there, but we're continuing to take it into, like in the consulting organization, we're continuing to take that transformation work that was set out in 2017, and we are driving more transformation on the tops of that so we could create faster speed to market, more centralized assets, so you don't have to go to different places to get assets. So that's helping in contracting. That's helping in, RFP content. When you think about really like how to put together RFP content, and it's just enabling our sellers in a way that is just much more effective.
Wow, it's amazing. So was it incubated originally with kind of IBM as customer zero, and then you found the product market fit, and then kind of grew the people and go to market engine from there?
Yeah, I think so. So it started as a service need, but it was loud and clear that there was a sales challenge.
Right.
There were some sales challenges. So yeah, so as we took that, we did take a product approach to it. Yeah.
Oh, great. What about focusing in some of the go-to-market functional areas then, say from a sales perspective, what are some of the outcomes from leveraging Gen AI?
Oh, geez. So yeah, so we've been able to drive, you know, in some of the solutions where we're putting things together. I just talked about the 13x that we've seen in some of our clients by just actually fixing some of how they're doing lead to cash. We are increasing their cash flow. Like we have a client that we've increased their cash flow 25%. In terms of what we're doing for them from a lead to cash perspective. So there's a number of things that we're doing on this front. Like I'll give you an example that we've taken for a large grocer actually here in the US. They have, 500 to 600,000 emails that they're doing every year, right? So these, and they're handled very differently, globally dispersed team. And that email handling is costing them like it's an inordinate amount of hours, like 55 hours for them to and inconsistent responses. So in that example, we've leveraged generative AI across that to classify what are these different emails about. So that's improving from 10 minutes to classify to like seconds, right? And then what we're able to drive better outcomes in terms of like the response time. So we're in that example, I think our clients are seeing like 91% effectiveness in the classification, which is really really powerful. When you start to look at and right now, I'll just say, let me just sort of caveat that is one example. And so those percentages, I've seen 50%, I've seen 30% in terms of like improvements in being able to handle customer feedback or customer questions, and then how are we able to resolve those quickly. But it does start with like the quality of your data. So I will say that, but really importantly, I think what we're seeing is, I would say greater than 30% in many cases where we're able to help improve throughput. So if you think about this, whether it's a call center or sales kind of in a sales community, if you're able to improve throughput and information, you're able to actually drive better time to, better speed to value.
Yeah. Awesome. Certainly can be, CRO's best friend in several ways, and the CFO's best friend.
Yeah. And even in a marketing case, like, so it's so important for sales, right? To have those marketing campaigns out in market. I mean, we've seen that, CMOs are saying that, I think it's like a 95%, where they're saying they're looking to leverage generative AI in the marketing space to improve like all of these sort of low fidelity tasks. But I mean, we're seeing it in our own business, and I'm seeing it in some of our clients' business, where we're seeing like the ability to concept a campaign going from, 30 to 60 days to 8 days, right? And so if you can think about that and what that impacts in terms of your ability to get into market faster and then test content and creative, like we've just have done this actually recently where we're testing speed to market in different content scenarios. And those different content scenarios we've taken 10 days to 2 days, but then it's really driving, like in our latest campaign, we saw a 26x impact in social, performance. So just think about that and actually how it's going to drive like lead generation into your pipeline, right? If we're able to see a 26x uptick in social performance, that's going to drive naturally into your pipeline. And so that ability to test content and creative and see what's really resonating and leveraging generative AI to do that is very, very powerful.
Right. Also, it's a side note, excellent to help keep the marketing function accountable for specific metrics, which, no offense, sometimes they are not necessarily, right? Some work great, but a lot of them still aren't. And the CROs are all upset. Hey, you're spending all this money. We can't track. I'm not getting leads. I'm getting my head count cut because we're not making the revenue, but I need the funnel in. So just being able to, streamline that whole process is amazing.
Yeah. And then also inside of that is to understand where are the breakpoints in the workflow, right? Because if, in a marketing organization, they're trying to drive campaigns out to obviously communicate with customers, but also really drive that pipeline. But ultimately, there needs to be a seamless handoff between marketing and obviously sales and where the funnel is. So lead gen, in the sales side of things, leveraging generative AI to those gaps, but then also to really help to understand how to accelerate that funnel, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, marketing tradition. Hey, we give sales all kinds of leads. Sales says, I don't get any leads. Like, okay, well, there's this like kind of black hole here, right? So being able to, bridge that's really amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Works out great. So just a reminder, so for those watching along or listening along, feel free to chime in with any comments or questions as well. Another thing you touched on before is intersection of service and sales. So I think you mostly covered it, but anything else you'd want to add in there?
No, I don't think so, actually. Yeah, no, good.
Oh, that's awesome. So, all right. So moving on, you've had awesome career. Any kind of one or two mentors you'd like to mention, and maybe advice that you've received?
Oh yeah, well, it's hard not to spend. When you talked about Craig, it's hard not to spend 20 years at a company. So David Williams is just a tremendous leader. Was who I worked under at Merkle. Was the CEO of Merkle, and he had a saying that I still continue to use today, that business is personal. So I think it was great learning early on. And I've always, it resonated for me, and it continues to still resonate for me today. And I think it's who I am as a leader. So I think it's that he's just amazing, and really taught me a lot. And I think in so many ways I am where I am because of the learnings from David. And then I would just say also, one of the leaders that actually the reason I came back to IBM as well, and one of the reasons I joined IBM is Kelly Shambliss. She leads our consulting business in the Americas, and Kelly is just a really inspirational and insightful leader, and just really has also changed my trajectory as well. So both of those two people have been really, really foundational in my career.
Awesome. So great. What about any one or two sales leaders or CEOs that you especially admire, and why?
Yeah, so I actually was with one this week. Actually, Owen McCory is a good friend of mine, and a great leader, a great sales leader who I worked with at Merkle, and just learned a lot from Owen. But look, I think I've spent most of my career in working with sales leaders very closely because of the work that I do. So I think when I think about Owen, I think about somebody that really understands sort of the heartbeat of a customer, and how to work with clients, and really ultimately how to match up to what the outcomes are that they're trying to achieve. So I think as I think about the three leaders that I just shared with you, those folks really have just a very unique blend of really understanding client challenges and matching up to those. And then ultimately, it doesn't feel like sales. It feels like you're doing business with somebody that you're really trying to help them solve the outcomes and the challenges that they have every day. So I think that I've always taken that approach and that personal approach to it. And then ultimately, I always think about this, if I'm sitting across the table from you, and you're my client or my prospective client, how am I going to make sure that I'm helping you be successful? Because ultimately, what are the solutions that I'm bringing to you? It's not about a specific widget. It's about, we can put these things together. And in some cases, we're working across partnerships, right? I mean, we work with a number of other companies to pull these solutions together. So I don't think it's a one size fits all. I think it's, when I said the business is personal, I really ultimately believe that, because at the end of the day, my role is to help that client be successful in their organization.
Wow, awesome. Now, what about any advice you would give to your younger self?
Oh boy, I've been asked this question quite a bit lately, and it always gets asked around. So look, I think when I started my career, I started in sales, actually, selling my very early on, I was selling shoes, and then selling telecom services before I graduated, obviously, from college, and have ended up here. But I think I always considered technology to be like, you had to code, and you had to really be an engineer. And ultimately, I think it's really the translation, and where my advice would be, being a great translator is, and especially in a sales community, understanding what the client problems are and being able to bring solutions to solve that is so key. And so, I now say that I describe myself as a technologist because I have a passion for the technology, but really it's into more of the context of, how is that technology going to be in service to solving that business problem or that business challenge? So I don't look at it as, okay, it's this solution by this company, right? And I don't look at it per se as it's a software problem. It's how am I leveraging that technology and that software to solve the business challenge? And I think ultimately then on the front, on the front end of that is how am I creating a better experience on the front end of it? Because if I'm using it, I don't want it to be super clunky and super difficult to use.
Yep, totally. So traditional nomenclature would be, kind of value selling, but it's really kind of in what you're doing, right? If you're in the elevator a second time today and you got 30 seconds and the CFO's in there, what are you going to talk about? It's not the mumbo jumbo technology. It's how you're going to help them generate revenue, get a competitive advantage, save money, things like that.
Yeah, ultimately, yeah, and that's a lot of what we do. Like I work quite a bit around the value realization cases, and because many of the solutions that we're putting together, are board level approval, and ultimately you have to be right. You have to say this is what we're going to go improve, and it's going to be 40% automation, and it's going to be 30% productivity, or whatever those specific numbers are in the value case. But ultimately, you are trying to create a better, you're creating better outcomes, and there's a number associated with that typically.
Yeah, amazing. It's interesting. If you think about the role of the CRO, right? So it used to be just kind of VP of sales, and now several organizations include several different functional areas, but really now the really kind of importance in the company that person has for decision making. And who would have thought 10 or 15 years ago that a CRO would be a key executive that you as running a huge business would actually be selling to.
Right. And ultimately, the business is holding them accountable, not just for obviously there's a cost play here in terms of what we're also doing. And so how do we create more of, efficiency and productivity so that CRO can actually invest more into the things that they want to do? And if we're able to address that cost takeout, they're able to spend it in a different way. So there is an intersection, I think, between the CFO and the CRO and even, sort of the talent organization, because we're working across people, process, and technology. So, at the end of the day, it does involve more than just the, technology organization or the revenue organization.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned, talent. So any kind of tips or tricks as you kind of, leading and managing your organization from a talent perspective?
Yeah, well, I would say that I would say on the talent side that change is hard. So anything that we put together, there's a change management aspect of it, because we're really trying to help our clients and even our business adopt change, right? So we went through this in our own sales transformation that I talked about, and there was a lot of consternation, I think, initially of like, what do you mean there's no customization? But we figured it out, and obviously you can get customization through your own personal reporting and your own how you want to receive the data. And I think that's the same thing that we do with our clients too. So at the end of the day, our talent is my business, right? So I'm a people business, and at the end of the day, trying to make sure that we are getting in front of where people are concerned, where people have questions or people have issues, right? With also how they're engaging with the tools and processes. And then, taking that feedback loop. I mean, when we did our sales transformation, we had a weekly stand up that people could come in and share what their feedback was. And actually, they did a very quick sprint process to actually incorporate feedback. So I think that feedback loop is, really sometimes underestimated, but super critical as part of any kind of transformation, including our own.
Yeah. And, talent management, performance management these days, given some of the crazy cultural things that are going on, a lot of people, maybe younger generation, kind of don't want to be managed or, aren't striving necessarily to improve. But it seems like, IBM culture always has been performance-based. We're going to help you improve. We want people that want to improve. Have you had any struggles there or things that you're doing well there that you talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, we invest quite a bit in our people, because I think at the end of the day, it's the skills and the talent on the field that resonate with our clients. And so if we don't have that top talent that is, intellectually curious, that is a continuous learner and really willing to learn, it's going to show in the solutions that we bring to our clients and how our clients feel about us, sort of full stop. But I think we've got to curate and cultivate that. So look, back to my point that this is a people business, I think it's also hard. We're also shifting skills too now. So as we look at generative AI, we're expecting every single person in our consulting organization to have skills in generative AI. And there, we've looked at it in 3 different tiers. We're, from expert to, foundational to expert, right? But at the end of the day, I mean, we have to engage in it to be able to advise our clients because that's our job. But, in some of that, it's tough, right? And, we're in a business also that it's a technology business, changes very rapidly. So I think, for our teams, one, continuing to, I call it inspire and aspire, right? Like we need to, continue to inspire them and, in terms of the solutions and the things that we're bringing to our clients and give them the tools for them to aspire to be and grow their careers in different ways. So I think there's a number of different places that our folks can go, but ultimately in my business, really being subject matter experts is really critical and understanding what the customer challenges are.
Yeah, for sure. And it also seems these days that a lot of first line managers, maybe because of COVID, were kind of promoted up for a variety of reasons, didn't have the time, effort, or energy to do the coaching and development. Do you find, with your group that kind of first line, not that everybody isn't important, but those first line managers are really so key? And are there any special things that you're doing there kind of to develop them?
Yeah, first of all, they're critical, right? Because you think about sort of the talent that we're bringing in. We started talking about this around Duke, and I've got kids in college. Like the talent coming in through COVID, they weren't going to an office. So we've done a return to office, and there's certainly been some. That's not without its challenges, but really ultimately the intention is for us to be together, right? And for us to do business together, one, to know our coworkers, not in a 2D world, but in a 3D world, but also to be able to work with, to be together with our clients. So we've actually broadened that definition to, that return to office too. If you're with coworkers, right? It's not just if you're with clients, if you're meeting with coworkers and you're doing other things together, then that's, considered to be, being together. So look, I think we're trying to match up to some of those challenges, and we've got a lot of, early professional talent that they really do want to be in the office. They really do want to be building those relationships. But I think, depending on sort of where you are in your professional life cycle, people have different priorities. But I think there's no question in what I've seen from some of our folks in terms of they understand the value of being together and doing the work. And back to my, it's business is personal. They want to work with people that they like to work with, that they're inspired to work with, and that they can create some really cool things to come out of, right? So I don't think that that's changed.
Yeah, and the importance there of relationships and having it be, again, I'm old school, but kind of so much more critical, I think, to try and do it face to face, and then trying to get your clients, so it's easy for the client, great for sales if they want to go face to face, but then for the clients to say, oh, I don't know, why, I can stay behind my screen, but your ability to get your sales team or your delivery team face to face with those clients to then build those relationships so they know, like, and trust. So you can not just work on the current engagement, but then you're building a longer term relationship to really kind of expand over time as well.
Yeah, and I think naturally in those environments, there's a lot of curiosity that comes out that sometimes doesn't come out in a screen.
Right. Yeah.
So you're having a hallway conversation. You're like, hey, so I was thinking about XYZ. You're not having that hallway conversation if you're on the screen, right? So I just think I've seen a lot of natural innovation come out with people, being together and going back to work.
Yeah, absolutely. So time flies when you're having fun here. So I think a lot of people have been enjoying the Good Friday holiday. But we do get this recorded and reposted and spread across everywhere. So I'm sure it will be highly seen. So I just want to thank Tucker for your help behind the scenes, Elizabeth, who helped, Tech Target for the sponsor of this. And again, for those that are members of Sales Community, thanks. For those that are not, you can see the post there. And next week, we have Peter Trezino on April 3rd, who runs the Americas for Dell. and I'm sure that will be fantastic as well. So, Jen, you've been awesome. Any closing words?
Well, thank you, Randy. This has been awesome. I've really enjoyed spending the last 45 minutes with you and your sales community here. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.